Good.
Wait, hold on. It says, please ask the host to give you permission to record.
No, I'm recording you right now, bro. Like I said,
fault.
it's fine. You can edit this. I'll send you the file and you can just cut this out. But
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the UL Podcast. It's our second episode. Today I got a special guest with me. My first guest, the Steve Johnston with a T. Not Johnson, is with a T. As you can see in his Fairfield U jersey in the back and the Canadian jersey in the back. Steve's a former hooper. He used to play at Fairfield U. Now he owns his own training company, NDO Training, and he works at Revolution Basketball. He's from Stanford. He went to West Hill and St. Luke's. And he continues to inspire everyone today to be great. He's got his own podcast of himself, NDO Podcast. You can follow him on Instagram, NDO Training, or what's the other one? What's your personal one called again?
Steven.j.ndo.
So everyone go follow that. If you don't know, if you look at my page, tons of what's tagged under me. It's just videos of us getting that work in. Steve's helped me a lot with my game and on and off the court aspects to enhance my game. So I'll just pass it over to him, introduce himself, what he does, just a little background with him, and then we'll get into the context of the video. Go ahead, Steve.
Appreciate that, Josh. Yeah. Once again, Steve Johnston. Thank you for having me. Trainer, basketball trainer. I still hoop. I hoop somewhat, but mainly trying to help the players develop at this point. And I started my business, No Days Off Training, right after I graduated. So I made it an LLC, and but I didn't go full time into it until last year. And so now I'm a full-time basketball trainer. It's an interesting road, but thank goodness, I would have never thought I'd be in this profession. My dream and goal was always be like a professional basketball player for as long as I can, and things didn't work out. But now I'm here. I found my niche. I like helping develop players from all ages, from youth all the way through the professional level. I've been lucky to be able to work with some great trainers as well, and then obviously be in the presence of some great basketball players. So, that's basically it. I'm based in Stanford, but I'm also at Revolution Basketball as an independent contractor, helping them develop their facility out there in Manchester, Connecticut. And, they're based with Michael Lancaster. We'll talk about, different training styles later. And so we'll talk about how I train and things like that. But that kind of sums up what I do right now. And like you said, like Josh said, I do an NDO podcast. I put out free drills every day, and all that. So I'm just trying to help wherever I can and, go from there.
Yeah, I would say, adding on to Steve, and, he's really built up his Instagram profile to a point where he's giving out free content so much that, it's pretty amazing to see, if you're a young basketball player, or even if you just want, some inspirational, motivational videos. He's got his podcast, he's got his little snippets, even if you're not athlete, there's still stuff you could take away when you're going about your life. So I think Steve, he just touched on the fact that, his route was a little bit different. I know he was a walk-on at Fairfield. He was a pretty good player at St. Luke's. You were a 1,000-point scorer there, right?
Yes, sir.
And then he goes to a good D1 program in Fairfield, who's, been up and down the past couple of years. And, he walks on there, he finishes, you majored, what was your major in Fairfield?
Finance.
In finance. So, like a finance major, he wants to be a pro basketball player. And then he wound up being a basketball trainer, which a lot of people, I think, although it's growing, training and degrees in the exercise world or whatever it may be, it might seem untypical. And you probably had some people that doubted you. And we talked about in the first episode of the UL podcast, what, as far as from a mental standpoint, what it takes for you to switch your career paths and and what you want to do. So did you have doubters? And if so, how did you overcome stuff people were saying? And how did you keep yourself dialed in on taking the next steps?
So it's crazy. You know, I mean, to be honest, I think I still have some doubters today, but I don't care. I really don't care. You know, when I was younger, it definitely affected me when I was younger. You know, growing up, I got, if you guys listen to my story, like, basketball kind of was like a getaway for me at first. And, you know, I used to, like, I didn't look like a hooper. So, you know, I had people make fun of me, but when they saw me play, like, they were like, oh, okay, like, he actually can hoop. I want to be friends with him because he can play good. You know, and things like that. And I think it's just always been an underdog, you know, my whole life. You know, going to West Hill, same thing. You know, I didn't go to West Hill. I played for West Hill. I went to AIT. But even then, you know, people still slept on me. Then I got to St. Luke's, and, you know, the thing was I transferred there to play right away, but I was on the bench to start. And then so I had to earn my way into, you know, playing there. You know, I told, you know, a couple people my goals and dreams, and, you know, they're like, hey, that's a bit of a reach. I don't think you can do it, da, 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 da. But my mentality and the work I was putting in, you know, I just wasn't going to let that, you know, deter me. I also never really had a crazy, you know, mentor who's been through the gambit. So I had to learn things on the fly. My dad didn't play college ball. My mom didn't play college ball. Like, they didn't know the process, but they did a great job in terms of trying to build me up being mentally tough, and not letting people kind of step in and, you know, deter you from your dreams. Even in college too, same thing. You know, I can go
Right.
on and on. Even when I went played a season in Canada, people didn't think I could do that. So just been a lot of people who didn't think I was good enough, or like they say, oh, I mean, I could be where he's at. Like, how did he get there, kind of thing. But it's not about that. At the end of the day, it's about, you know, this made me happy, and this is what I want to do with my life. And then I want to be able to help inspire the next generation to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, as you can see, I mean, that was well said. I mean, so knows the underdog life, you know, the mentality of it. And, you know, from everyone that I've heard, you know, that I've talked about with Steve, about the people that I've met that have known him, you know, around, whether it be playing pickup basketball or just around Norwalk, Stanford, whatever, maybe the people I've met, you know, and that know Steve from when he was younger, you know, you can tell Steve was one of the hardest workers, always, you know, staying in the gym. And I think this applies to him today. You know, he's in his 20s now, but, you know, he's had that since he was young. And I think I can, even though I've only known Steve for a couple of years, I can see that. And, you know, also his ability to make connections. Speaking of one of probably his biggest connections, the person he learned maybe the most from, which he's going to talk about in a second. And I'm honestly, you know, not surprised that he was able to meet DJ Sackman, you know, one of the world's one of the world's best trainers. He's got some of the most clout on Instagram, you could say. And he's built up so much. He was under Micah Lancaster when he started, who runs On Possible Training, one of the biggest basketball skills training platforms in the world. And when I first saw, you know, his Instagram post, I remember he had that Supreme backpack. He was at a basketball convention. He had such a big smile when he met DJ. And DJ, I believe, talk about a little bit now how you were able to join the hoop school in New Jersey. And, you know, you used to go out there, I remember, often, and you even ran the place a couple of times with all New Jersey's talent, young hoopers, some pro level guys. You talk about a little bit your experience with the hoop school in New Jersey and how that shapes you today.
Yeah, like that experience is probably irreplaceable for myself. You know, being able to pick the mind of somebody who's been in the game a little bit longer than myself, or well, not a little bit, probably a lot more. You know, he was able to kind of, you know, use social media and his knowledge of the game and be able to kind of like teach it at a large scale, which is great. And so I was just lucky enough to, like, I reached out via DM and he actually responded to me one day. And then from there, kind of like blossomed into a little bit of something. Went to the Final Four. I was an assistant coach at a postgraduate school, Fort Union Military. And so we went there and I told the head coach, I was like, I got to go check this out because I want to go be able to talk to him. So, he did something with Dr. Dish. He's a partnership with Dr. Dish, which is a shooting gun for basketball, if the audience doesn't know. And, it was really good, very informative. And then from there, I just connected with him. And then he sent me to China that summer, which is crazy because we just met. We talked a little bit. I sent him some footage of me training kids, and he thought I was good enough. And then, boom, came back, offered me a full-time training gig with the hoop school. And then from there, I was able to work with some of the top, middle schoolers in that area who he's been developing for years. And then I got to work with some top high school talent and obviously some professionals as well. And, the hoop school kind of opened up doors for me to this day. Like I said, it was only a year ago today, to be honest, not today, but a year ago around this time, around August, September, where it was just like I did it full time. So it's only been a year for myself that I've been a full-time basketball trainer, and I haven't done any other kind of job, which is kind of crazy thinking about it right now. But like I said, I've worked with some of the top talent. I got a couple of kids that I was able to help I worked at the Patrick School because of DJ, the school that Kyrie Irving went to, and a couple other guys, Dexter Strickland, Samuel Dallenberg, I think Nardi from Villanova. There's a lot of talent that's been through there. And obviously the latest person is Jonathan Kuminga. He's in the G League now. So I got to see him work. Noah Farrakhan, got to see him work. But it was just, like I said, it was just a great opportunity. It helped me develop as a coach, trainer, and a mentor.
Yeah. So, I remember when Steve was in China and and especially, even before training with DJ Sackman, Steve was a great trainer, but I saw improvements with the way, he handled himself during workouts. I've stayed a little bit after, whether, after workouts myself or before, seeing him train other players. And he's pretty consistent, with his motor, and he has great energy in the gym with people. But when I was in touch with him quite a bit when he was in China, and, I knew he made, I was like, this guy, he's starting to really apply himself. When I saw these bowls of different foods that I've never seen in my life in China, and he was like eating it like he was used to it, and he talked about how different it was. And I remember he came home and we were at LA Fitness training, and he was talking about how, how different of an experience is. But you can see Steve's, he just keeps working with more and more players and learning to get better and better at training. So I think we can, dive right into right now. It's been a pretty good talk so far about more specific aspects of training. What do you think? I think one of the biggest components that I and a lot of young hoopers or, other sports as well, have to decipher between is the idea of rest or training. So a lot of, I've seen you look at Micah and DJ, their difference, in styles. And, Micah had a post where you get 1 60-minute workout a day, super efficient. You work on certain skills and you could be good with that. But DJ's arguing you got to he's more of the, old school type of get in the gym, 2-3 times a day, every day, make sure you're getting this amount of shots up, working on X, Y, and Z. And I think it's hard because, you have so many different aspects of it, whether it be your body, what you're putting into your body, your age, and how this might affect, your system and how much training you're able to actually do. versus rest. So only doing one workout, doing all these different types of workouts, like at the end of the day, it's this big grind. It's this slow grind. It's this whole, revolution. People talk about the grind, but it's obviously about a balance in between, and you want to have other aspects in your life. But when it comes to training, for basketball specifically, but other sports as well, how, something I struggle with sometimes and learning how to deal with more, and there'll be months where I'm more of the grind way, and there's other months where I'm more one workout a day or try to rest more, don't push your muscles too hard, this and that. And I'm sure there's scientific studies that show which one's better. But in your opinion, Steve, what do you think, how should a player go about, thinking if they should be getting more rest or grinding and working out on their game or on their body or whatever it may be? If you understand the question, what do you think about that?
All right. So my opinion here, it's a case by case scenario.
And also one more thing before you get into it.
Go ahead.
So how does age affect it? Because I could imagine that someone that's 7 and is easy to run around all day and just learning the game can run around way more than someone who's 25, 30 and their knees are starting to hurt them. So that's another thing I'm going to add, but you can get into it now.
Yeah, like I said, it's a case-by-case scenario. So technically, I would say, in my opinion, when it comes to training, I would say 1 workout a day, 2 potentially tops, right? The 3rd workout could be maybe like a workout in terms of physically. Like, it depends on the season, right? Are you in season? Are you in AAU season, right? Is it, like I said, is it the off season? It depends on your activity level, right? Everybody has different activity levels. Now, in terms of just physically developing yourself and skill set, when I say no days off, like there are no days off to be, if you want to be really good. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be physical, right? So you can watch the game, you can try to dissect something and learn from that point of view, right? And that's a way you can improve your IQ and improve as a player. But my opinion, it really depends on your body. Like, so here's the thing with younger players, depending on who they are, from my experience, their attention span's shorter. So you got to give them a good workout, or they got to work out for a short period of time and just be locked in for that time. And then they'll see the growth and development. The older you are, you can work as long as you want, but there has to be that recovery period after as well. So like literally we did a 2-hour workout the other day, and then, we're lucky enough to help train this guy. He's preparing for the NBA draft. Played at Hofstra, Elijah Pemberton, and like he works out. He's a workhorse. He's like trying to make sure he's ready for his call. He's got some workouts coming up, and after the workout, he sits there for like 15, 20 minutes. Like I saw him one day, he was meditating, like literally sitting there working on his breathing. Another time he was just stretching, making sure his hips are loose. And his regimen is like he came from a lift, drove to us, put him through a basketball workout, and then stretch. And then later that night, he went to play pickup.
Pros, they're focused on things that they need to do. And they're, so persistent with every hour it being a certain way.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing for young players to have.
Yeah, and not everyone has that access. He eats well. And that's another thing that I preach on. It's just like the nutrition aspect. It's like, I'm not a professional nutritionist, so I can't really give you per se guidance, because that can, like, obviously that'll backfire on me, and because everybody's body's different. But there are things in general that you have to cut down on, processed food, sodas, a lot of processed sugary things. You want to
drinking a Snapple while we're talking about this, Steve. Yeah. Right after I took a couple sips of the Snapple, you have to say something. I don't even drink it like that.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like you say, you don't drink it like that. It's moderation. Now, I'm not saying you can't spoil yourself, right? But like at this, also you can't overdo it. So it's a perfect combination. And then also with the strength and conditioning, right? Let's say back when I was in high school, we didn't have the scientific background that we have access to now. Like my guy PJF, like that, I follow him religiously, right? In terms of his information, I'm thinking about signing up for his EdU program so I can start learning myself and like being able to teach players the proper mechanics and proper nutrition. Like they have a professional nutritionist who teaches stuff through that and all that stuff. So it's just like that'll make me a better trainer where I can also help develop physically as well as nutritionally. But he was talking.
You add some of those. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying he talked about like depending how intense your workout is, right? Your physical workout with weights and whatnot. That should determine how hard you go on the basketball court. Some days you'll have an intense lift and you should do an intense basketball workout. And on the lighter recovery days, you should also have a lighter recovery basketball workout. So that can be form shooting or ball handling, get you moving a little bit, and then the shots. So it all correlates, and it depends on your schedule, it depends on you as a person, and it depends on your dedication and how bad you want it.
Right.
So
I think this is a big topic for lots of athletes because this is something everybody wants to get better, and learning the most effective way to do it. There's so much science about it, but everyone trying to find their own way with it can be difficult for some people. So I'm glad we covered that.
Really quickly, the last thing, just for if you got any young hoopers, the other main important thing he did mention besides nutrition was sleep. If you don't get enough sleep, your risk of getting injured goes up tremendously. So that's the other thing. Yeah, it'll catch up to you.
You can eat right, or especially if you eat bad plus get bad sleep, it's not going to make you feel good. So many kids you could eat. You can have AAU tournaments and then go eat McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's and get fries and chicken nuggets every day, and then when you go back to the hotel room, then you got a game the next day early in the morning. Probably not your best look.
Right.
So, right now, who do we have winning the rest of the series? 3-1 to everyone that's going to be watching this. Maybe they're watching this in a week from now. Right now, it's 3-1. The Lakers are winning versus the Heat. The Heat had their moment. They had their moment.
They had it.
Game 3. Right? But I think that the most they could win right now at this point is one more game.
None.
0, nothing. I know, like, it's crazy because I've been such a big, there's so much you could talk about this finals. It's been interesting, the bubble. I'm so happy they've been able to put on this display. And some of the teams that got knocked out, like the Clippers, that whole phenomenon and all the memes they got on social media, all that stuff. And the Heat have made it so far from what they've expected. Unfortunately, Dragic and Adebayo got injured. Adebayo's back, but he didn't have the best game 4. But I've been such a big Tyler Hero fan. And I love Duncan Robinson's story, and I've been such a big Tyler Hero fan since he was in high school. But playing against LeBron and AD is something that is, if it's your first year or anybody, I think the only person that's able to have a consistent night is Jimmy every night.
And different.
And I mean, how are you going to beat AD and LeBron? It's just too hard. But what are some of your thoughts about the finals and the direction it's going? And
like I said, I'm a Laker fan, so I'm a little biased, but
okay.
you know, it is what it is. I think that, like I said, there's no chance, in my opinion, tonight that Miami takes this one. Like Dragic was a big loss. Like that was a big, really especially on the offensive end, just what he's able to provide and the veteran leadership.
Like people just forget about the European guys that just give you like double doubles with assists. These points.
He's tough. He's been tough.
Crazy.
Going way back. So
like
on his Phoenix, when he was on, I think he was on Phoenix. And then I forgot what other team it was, but he's like really good. People don't understand how good he is.
Yeah, it's so interesting because the Lakers, unless they're not playing good enough opponent, if AD and LeBron are having great games, it doesn't matter what Danny Green does. It doesn't matter what Caldwell Pope does. It doesn't matter what the other players in the team, Dwight Howard, are even doing. If those two play well, they're so good that the role players don't need to do anything. But at the Heat, they need to make shots. They need to have perfect games. And that's hard to do. So
that's completely correct. Yeah, it's just like it's hard because I would say the Lakers are one of the hardest teams to play because they're so versatile. Miami's one of the hardest teams to play because they play so damn hard, So it's just like that combination. But when you have, like you said, when you have AD and LeBron, it's like it's tough. And the only reason why they won that second game was LeBron and AD got outplayed. And it's hard to outplay them every night. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's just like the best way all you could have to really do is be able to contain. If I'm Miami, I would try to have them play like that zone. Just because I also think, sorry, oh man, I'm a little tired. That the shooting hasn't been the best, even though like Caruso's been hitting, Kuzma's been hitting, Ronald hit a couple. But Caldwell Pope, Danny Green haven't been the most consistent like I thought they would.
Right.
But they're doing enough to get by. If I would say if this was like
they have to pray and hope that they're not making shots.
Yeah.
They play that zone. It's worked in the semifinals, but in the finals, they've tried it in little moments, and then when the Heat go on these runs, it's like, you just gotta play man and hope and pray for the best.
Yeah, it's hard to do that on a consistent basis because you're trying to win. It's just like difficult. Like that's the next thing that I'm trying to develop as a trainer is to be able to like kind of foresee, what coaches are thinking, right? If I can see that when they put them through a play and then also try to make the read being a high IQ basketball player. Like there was this play I watched, I think it was game 2, and LeBron was posting up and he peeked over his shoulder. He was in the mid post and he was posting up. And he peeked over his shoulder and he was backing him down and he kind of faked to the left to go on the baseline. And he spun off the other way because he knew this has to be off of film study. When they double team him, the double team comes from the baseline side, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. But that's for me as a trainer, that's my next step, kind of develop that niche. But like we were just talking about though, it's hard to not be able to play LeBron one-on-one. You got to be physical, but clean physical with LeBron because he'll complain.
Yeah, and then LeBron, the funniest thing I think about LeBron, that in his career, he's the only thing I could maybe critique is he turned the ball over a little bit too much. But his turnovers, it's like, because it's LeBron, they don't even matter. He just gets back. He's no expression on his face, gets back on defense, and it's like, well, he turned the ball over, he dribbled out of bounds, but it's like it's LeBron doing it, so everyone just forgets about it, moves on to the next play. He's got that move on to the next play mentality down in year 17. I mean, he's had that for his whole career, but especially now, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like it's like he's like once in a lifetime player. Like it's hard to.
Yeah.
So many people hate on him. Like I was a hater for a little bit. Like I loved LeBron when he was in Cleveland. and did all that stuff, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But like, you can't, as me as a trainer now, like I respect so many things about basketball players that I didn't as a player. At, like I said, my cerebral about the game is different in terms of appreciation and studying the game. So it's like LeBron, what he's doing is literally unheard of. Literally, if you look at all his stats, it's like nobody comes close in terms of how high he is on all of his numbers. And then think about this, 17 years in the league, 10 NBA finals. You know, Bill Russell's the closest thing to that, but Bill Russell won a lot of them, but like, also they were like a dynasty back then, and you didn't have everybody was talented. I can't compare, generations, but the thing with that is like, you also got to think the NBA is the most skilled it's ever been. There's like so much invested in it. Players have the most resources they've ever had, and things of that nature. So it's like, it's hard to compare anything because of the generational gap, but you just got to respect greatness when you see it, and what he does and how he's able to win games and be a complete player is really different.
Crazy. Yeah. So as all of our listeners, our viewers can see, we could talk about basketball or other subjects not related to sports or training all day. Steve and I could talk all day. But, probably going to move on soon. But I want to ask him one more question about training, and then, we'll exit out of here and move on. But Steve, so as a trainer, when you get new people all the time, new people you might train, whatever be the level, what do you look for? What makes someone easier to train than harder to train? That might not necessarily be their talent. What makes, for all the people that might be watching this that are going to work with trainers and want to know from a training perspective, what the trainer's experience is and how they're able to make it an enjoyable, fun experience while still, giving you what you need to be successful to the best of their ability. What do you look for in a student when they come upon you and ask you for your best help and guidance?
I have a knack to be able to tell if somebody's serious or not. And that's you can kind of tell through the workout if somebody really is there to get better or just there just to work out. That kind of is like the thing that makes me like, I'm happy, or I'm just like, I'm trying to get them better, but it's not going to be, how do I phrase it? It's not going to be not as easy, but it's just going to be a little more difficult to kind of see the progress because I don't know how serious they are about basketball. Right. Like,
you can even see that in team workouts, team practices. That can be evident as well.
Yeah, like if I were to go to one of my players' practices and I see them, and the parents are asking me like, "Oh, my kid's still not playing and they're developing. They're developing, but they're not using their skill." Well, we don't know how the battle, what's going on in practice. Like, how are they practicing? Are they being a good teammate? Are they being a good person? Like, it's a lot more that goes into it. But like I said, to your question, right? It depends on the level, the age. Right, the younger they are, they're maybe not as locked in as you would like them to be, but they're learning. So that's all that matters for me. As long as they're there, they're listening, learning, and trying their best, I can't be mad at it. But when we get to the older age, and like I see them working out, and then they're going through the motions, and I got to get on them. That's not my job. I'm not a coach. I'm a trainer. Like, I could be a coach, but that's just not what I want to do right now. Like,
different mode,
and I can tell who's like really serious about it. Like, if you think about the hours you put in, we were just talking about, 2 workouts a day, a weight lift, and then rest and schoolwork, all that stuff. I mean, obviously you can't get all that information through one workout, but you can see, and I gotta trust what the player says. If they say like, hey, like I'm out of shape. Like I literally trained a pro yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. He goes, man, like this was a good workout, but like I'm out of shape, so I'm sorry. I'm like, don't say sorry to me. Like you don't have to apologize to me. You're the one that's got to be ready to go overseas in a couple of weeks. So like,
so that player has to, when he realizes that, he has to hold himself accountable and make sure that he does enough by himself without having to be reminded by you. He knows he's out of shape, so he needs to do something on his own because of that. You're not a personal trainer. You're a basketball trainer. So he can do that on himself. He can hold himself accountable. Nothing wrong with him saying that, but I think that's the other big thing. What probably makes you and a lot of, the better trainers better is that the next thing I want to ask you. So they're able to train somebody and not need them to come 5 times a week. If you're getting 5 basketball work in a week, maybe one is with you, maybe one's with their other basketball trainer, and maybe one is with, and the rest of them have to be by themselves, and it can't just be shooting around. I think what makes you one of the better trainers is you're able to, from what I've seen and how you've helped me, is learn how to train on my own, not just do that, but do that efficiently. So that's probably one reason. But what are some other reasons, real quick, before we run out of time? I think we should wrap this up in like 10, 15 minutes, maybe a little shorter, that make you. So what are some things that make you the best trainer in the area? You can be a little cocky for a second and flex a little bit about what makes you, Steve Johnston, founder of NDO training and one of the premier trainers in all of Connecticut. And, right now he's working Revolution up in Northern Connecticut, in Manchester. So let us know that.
I don't view it as being the best trainer. I view it as being one of the top trainers that can help develop players. Like I really think a trainer could be good if they connect with one kid and that one kid becomes good, or they just grab something from that person. Me personally, I want to just be able to help as many players as I can, like globally or like reach wise. And I set a goal for myself to be recognized as one of the top trainers in Connecticut. So that's why I'm working in Manchester. I thought it was a great opportunity to expand up there, help a lot of players up there and still come back here and help players develop. It's not
just making it. So your goal was, by doing that, was not to just make it a local effort, trying to expand and broaden your horizon, right?
Yes. And the other main goal for me, like I was just talking to the guy, his name's Danny Lawhorn. They call him Point God. He's like,
I believe I saw him. He's tough.
Yeah, he's tough.
Those pros you had on those ones the other day are some high level players.
They're
Wilson Frame guy, where he play, I've seen him,
he was at Pitt
in the past.
He was at Pitt.
Pitt, right?
Yeah, he was at Pitt. The other one played Kahari, I think played at UT Martin.
Okay.
So we've had guys the high level guys, overseas guys. But we were both talking about it. We just want to be able to. He's also a trainer besides being a pro hooper.
Okay.
We want to get Connecticut on the map. We're tired of like Connecticut not being slept on. And that's my main goal. Like that's me coming from a selfish spot. Like I want Connecticut to be on the map, recognized.
A lot of underdogs in Connecticut.
With Jersey and New York.
A lot.
There's a lot of underdogs. There's more talent than I realized, dude. It's kind of crazy, like how much talent is in Connecticut. But these teams, New York,
it creeps on you
Jersey,
subtly.
Massachusetts, they all come and snatch these kids. So we don't even know these kids are actually from Connecticut because they're playing their AAU ball in a different state.
And so the evolution of private school too.
Private, exactly.
If the private school is not within the borders, people might lose sight of that.
Exactly. So it's just like, for me as a trainer, like that's been one of my goals. And I think what makes me unique, and it doesn't make me better, it just makes me unique. I just feel like I do a great job connecting with players outside of just basketball. Like I can joke around but also be serious enough to help develop and be like on you, like, oh, you're not doing this detail, right? The one thing that I learned a great lesson from DJ was like, be very detail oriented and be very intentional with your instruction and your thoughts and the motions that you do and when you're teaching players. So that's something I took to heart, and I'm still learning today. Like literally after this convo, I'm gonna probably just go watch some film. I got to edit some videos and things like that. So it's not easy. You know, I'm really investing a lot of time into this. I want to be able to open my own facility one day. And then be able to get a bunch of pros, get a bunch of high school youth basketball players through there and help develop them. But, you know, I think that's what kind of makes me, which is my personality and the, you know, how I connect to players.
Right. So for everyone that made it this far in this conversation, this podcast today, I want you to know, take what we learned about, even if you don't play basketball, even if you play football, baseball, another sport, whatever, or you don't play sports, whatever it may be, apply some of these things, you know, into your lives, and hopefully it could make things go easier for you. Thank you for, you know, I'm really grateful to have Steve on the podcast. As you can see, he knew a lot what he's talking about, and we're just going to keep going with the podcast, keep going with the merch, and keep growing. Again, follow Steve on Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, all that.
Wherever.
And, you know, get in the gym with him if you're a hooper. Make sure you get in the gym with him if you're in the Connecticut area. And yeah.
Hey man, thank you for having me. It was fun. It's always fun to chop up hoops with you, bro. So
definitely, bro.
We'll definitely get back in the lab soon. No.
Everything. One last note. I know you hear it on TV. I know you hear it this and that. November 3rd, you got to vote. And don't vote for the wrong person. Vote for the right person. I'll leave it off on that. That concludes episode 2 of the UL podcast. Thank you for joining. See ya.